Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Red Dead Redemption 2 video, we are going to be talking about the burned town of Limpany. We're going to be looking at the backstory of this mysterious settlement, why it's burned to the ground, are there any secrets here, and a whole lot more. So this is something that you guys wanted me to cover for a while now. So I'm finally getting to it, and we're going to be talking about the secrets and the mysteries of this town. So for whatever reason, in case you haven't stumbled upon the town of Limpany yet, which would be kind of shocking given its proximity to the first camp, it's right on the shore of the Dakota River, and it's a little settlement, and you can find the sign for it right here. It says, "Welcome to Limpany." However, this is where things get a little bit less good for the town because all of it is burned to the ground for the exception of that sign. Like the entire town, it looks like sort of a mini Valentine, is just totally burned to the ground. So you can see there's a couple of different buildings here. The first noticeable one is the saloon on the left-hand side. And I'm not sure if there were any like valuables inside of this saloon. I started using like my Eagle Vision and I tried to find some stuff, but I didn't see anything too valuable in here. So you can see it's McCluskey's Saloon. I'm not sure who McCluskey is or if they are important to the town of Limpany, but that's who apparently owned the saloon. And you can see it looks like a normal saloon that you would find in, Blackwater or Tumbleweed or Armadillo or any one of these small little towns that were up and about during this time. So that's the saloon right there. There's also another building to the right of that. This one has like a mysterious little crawl space, like you can go underneath it, but there's nothing there. And like the top of your head sort of prevents you from going further. I thought there was going to be something interesting like buried here, but it turns out that's not the case. You can't even like walk around. You just sort of, like I said, get your head stuck on everything. So maybe Rockstar was planning to put something in there. I'm not too sure, but that's the second building in the town of Limpany. After that, we move on to probably one of the more interesting locations in Limpany, and that is the jail. Now, you might be noticing that the jail is the only thing that has not burned to the ground. Well, that's because instead of being made of wood, it's made of brick and stone, things that are pretty good at resisting fire. So let's go inside and let's check this out. And when I went inside for the first time, I was shocked at what I saw. I was not expecting that at all. So there's two individual jail cells and the corpse of two people are inside. And I was wondering what the heck went on here. They don't look like they've been burned. You can clearly tell that this place was not lit on fire due to the foliage and the hay. That would not be there if it had caught on fire. So I started thinking to myself, what happened to these two people and why are they on the inside? With the entire town non-existent and burned to the ground, how did these people get in here? So I think the most logical thing that happened is that when the town of Limpany burned down, these are criminals or outlaws or juveniles, whatever the case is, that have ended up in jail. And when the entire town burned to the ground, you can assume everyone either left or got trapped. And what they didn't do is focus on the jail. They probably wanted to get away as close as possible. So what I can assume will happen here is that these people were just stuck in here and no one came to check on them. Now, we don't know for how long the town of Limpany has been burned to the ground. It's burned to the ground the second we get access to Chapter 2. However, one can only assume that it was likely at most a couple of months or maybe a year or two ago, because it looked like a relatively new settlement, just one that had been completely burned to the ground. So that's the first theory, is what I think happened to these guys. My second theory is that maybe were homeless or they got lost and they stayed in the jail cell and they just died in there. That seems a little bit less likely because there are cozier places you could choose to live than a jail cell, even if you are homeless and looking for areas to stay. So I'm not sure what the heck happened here. After that, I used the pistol and lantern glitch to actually get inside of the one jail cell that is locked. And that's sort of another wrinkle in this mystery. Why is one of the jail cells open and one of them closed. Did one guy manage to get it open? Because one guy seems to be like shackled to the bed. The other guy seems to be sort of freely available to go anywhere in the cage. And that's the one we're in right now. So I wasn't too sure what to make of this entire situation. You can't do any damage to the two guys on the inside. So they might be the most unlucky criminals in the entire game. I mean, if it makes any sense to call a criminal unlucky, I guess you can't really feel too bad for them because they likely committed some massive crime in order to end up in this jail cell. But they got forgotten about in the fire and no one came back to check on them. So that is the jail right there. That is our first big, interesting building that you can actually stumble upon in the town of Limpany. Now, our next interesting building is just to the left of that, and that is the sheriff office. Now, you guys probably have used this sheriff office for a gold bar duplication glitch that was really popular when the game first came out. There's actually a lockbox underneath the sort of desk with a special horse stimulant pamphlet and a gold bar. So that's $500 right there and a nice pamphlet, a new recipe that you can earn. My favorite thing with all of these pamphlets is the did you know on the bottom. This one's kind of interesting. It says sheep dung dried in an oven and made into a tea cures measles and smallpox. I would not recommend that. If you're interested in brewing yourself a tea, I would highly recommend not doing what you see on here, but those are sort of the fun little things you get from there. Now, the rest of the town is pretty similar to everything else we've checked out, completely burned to the ground. So even though we've checked out all of Limpany, that still doesn't answer the question. What happened to this town? Was it arson? Was it a lightning strike? Was it someone at the saloon messing with one of the lanterns and it just caught the entire town on fire? We don't get any signs of foul play here, so it's really hard to say what happened. Honestly, I think our best evidence is actually just a couple of feet away. When I was recording this video, I noticed that there was another patch of land that looked really similar to the town of Limpany. It's actually a little bit to the northeast of this place, and you guys can see that it's pretty charred and burned to the ground as well. It basically looks like the town of Limpany without all of the buildings. So I started thinking, why is this location right here? It's so close to Limpany. Was it the same event that caused the fire? But that still doesn't answer our question, well, what would cause the fire? Now, at this little site, there is another little camp that you can actually loot. There's a lockbox with some pretty cool stuff in there. There is a miracle tonic. There's also a volatile fire bottle pamphlet, a gold nugget, some coffee, and a little bit more. Now, the volatile fire bottle pamphlet is another recipe. And instead of a did you know, we get a camping tip on the bottom. It says tie a button on a string and hang from the wall of a tent. Make a mark at the middle of the button. If string shortens, wet weather approaches. If string lengthens, expect dry weather. That's kind of cool. I don't know if that is a legitimate camping tip. It could be. It could also be a bunch of baloney. I don't know. But I did think that was kind of interesting right there. Now, upon walking a couple other steps, you can actually inspect this site. Believe it or not, this is a point of interest. And this point of interest is called brush fire. So even though Arthur doesn't write anything down, I guess we can assume that's what happened here. It was just a simple brush fire that ended up burning this area of the forest. And I think it's safe to say that that's likely what happened to the town of Limpany. Now, I would say that that is 100% the answer if these areas were located right next to each other. However, there is a giant gap of land between this brush fire and the town of Limpany. It's not like brush fires just can jump in the air and go from place to place, so it makes you wonder, how did something like this occur? Well, maybe it was the same brush fire in just another isolated area. Now, keep in mind, this is 1899. This isn't the era of like fire departments and fire engines. So it's not like someone could have put this out relatively instantly. It was going to burn on its own, and it was going to burn until it ran out of things to burn. So because we found this area, that's what I'm going to assume happened to the town of Limpany, that it was a brush fire that did its undoing. And that's the difficulty of building things back in 1899. A lot of people built stuff with wood. Wood is obviously very flammable, and if something goes up in flames, there's almost no way to stop it. Like I mentioned, this is 1899, not 2018, where you have fire extinguishers in the fire department and, buildings that are more fire repellent. So that is what I think happened to the town of Limpany. I want there to be a more like glamorous thing that happened, like a bunch of gunslingers had a fight in the street, but honestly, it doesn't make sense. And the fact that this brush fire is so close by sort of gives us a better sign of what likely happened. So it is sad, but we do get some cool, interesting, and unique stories out of it. But as always, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Let me know what you think happened to the burnt town of Limpany in Red Dead Redemption 2. If you did go on to enjoy the video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new, or you like daily Red Dead Redemption 2 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.